Athletes may be tested anytime, anywhere. The test can be conducted in competition or out of competition with no advance notice. Urine and/or blood may be collected from an athlete. Specially trained doping control personnel carry out all tests. The following scenes demonstrate the collection of a urine sample during a no advance notice in competition doping control session. There are different types of sample collection equipment and forms for the purpose of doping control. The material used in this video is meant only to outline the procedures. It does not reflect an opinion on the type of equipment to be used. Tests should be carried out with no advance notice. The doping control team may make contact with somebody responsible on site and ask for adequate testing facilities. The doping control station should consist of a waiting area, a processing area, and a washroom. The DCO will confirm that the facilities are suitable for doping control. They have to be clean and must ensure the athlete's privacy. The rooms are to be used solely as a doping control station during the sample collection session. The sample collection equipment and the forms are prepared. The doping control team coordinates the control session and the tasks are assigned. One person is the lead doping control officer. Others may act as chaperones. The selection of athletes is based on the requirements of the responsible anti-doping organization. The test may be random or a target test. At the end of the competition, those athletes who have been selected for doping control are immediately notified. The official identification and the authority under which the sample collection is to be conducted are shown to the athletes. For a minor or an athlete with a disability, a third party may be notified as well. The athletes are informed about their rights and responsibilities, which include the right to have a representative present at the doping control station. The athletes should report to the doping control station as soon as possible, but no later than the time indicated on the notification form, which is usually 60 minutes from the time of notification. The athletes sign the form confirming they have been notified for doping control. The athletes will be requested to show identification at the doping control station. The DCO may allow the athlete to delay reporting to the doping control station for activities such as a press conference or medal ceremony. However, the athlete must be accompanied at all times. The athlete will be accompanied by a doping control officer or a chaperone from the time of notification until the completion of the sample collection process. The time an athlete reports to the doping control station is noted on the doping control form. The identity of the athlete is confirmed upon arrival at the doping control station. If requested, the DCO will explain the sample collection procedure to the athlete. While waiting, athletes have the opportunity to hydrate. They may drink their own beverage or choose from a selection of sealed, non-alcoholic, non-caffeinated beverages. Athletes are responsible for what they decide to drink.
Jetzt könnten Sie trinken.
Ja,
Ja.
okay. So,
Hallo!
das wäre der Herr Bübasser.
The athlete proceeds to the processing area when ready to provide a sample. The identity of the athlete is confirmed, and the doping control officer will begin to fill in the relevant sections of the doping control form.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch oder Französisch?
Deutsch.
Beides?
Ja.
Ah, das ist super. Und sind Sie Herr?
Meder.
Meder. Haben Sie einen Ausweis? Oh, bitte schön. Okay, merci vielmals. Ich behalte bis haben wir fertig unsere Arbeit. So, haben Sie schon ein paar Kontrollen gemacht oder nicht?
Ja.
Schon. So wissen Sie, wie das funktioniert ungefähr.
Ja.
The athlete is offered a choice of collection vessels and chooses one. The athlete checks that the equipment is intact and has not been tampered with.
Können Sie mit Schere?
Once satisfied, the athlete opens the collection vessel and proceeds with the provision of the sample.
Mit meinen Kollegen bei
Only the athlete and a doping control official of the same gender are permitted in the washroom during the provision of the sample.
bitte schön.
Minors or athletes with a disability who need assistance may ask to have their representative present as well. However, this representative is not permitted to view the provision of the sample. The passing of the urine sample is witnessed by a doping control officer or chaperone of the same gender. Athletes are required to remove any clothing from the knees to mid-chest and from the hands to the elbows. This allows a direct observation of the urine leaving the athlete's body. These provisions ensure that it is the athlete's own urine and help prevent possible manipulation of the urine sample. The athlete maintains control of the sample at all times during the process unless assistance is required due to an athlete's disability. Back in the processing area, the person witnessing the passing of the sample will sign the doping control form at this time or at the end of the process. The volume of the collected urine and the time of sample provision are recorded on the doping control form.
Haben Sie mir
As a guideline, between 75 milliliters and 100 milliliters of urine should be collected, depending on the laboratory requirements for the type of analysis to be conducted.
kontrolliert Ihre Material, war noch nie geöffnet.
If the athlete provides the required amount of urine, a sample collection kit will be selected.
Okay. Bitte.
The athlete checks that the equipment is intact and has not been tampered with.
Wegnehmen, voll.
Once the athlete is satisfied, the sealing procedure begins.
Das können Sie
The athlete opens the kit.
Jawohl, dort. Und von hier bis oben, bitte wieder. Es gibt 2 Flaschen innen. Können Sie beide Flaschen draußen nehmen, bitte? Okay, beides. Diese kleine Material können wir auch ein bisschen neben uns so lassen. Und die andere kleine. Ist alles in Ordnung für Sie?
The athlete confirms that the sample code numbers on the bottles, the lids, and the container all match.
Öffnen, bitte.
Once satisfied, the lids from the bottles are removed.
Wegnehmen. Und am Anfang machen wir Transferrechte bei die Blau, die B-Probe
Ja.
und die zweite nachher bei A. Und ich sage, wann haben Sie genug? Ich sage, aber bitte schon am Anfang müssen Sie Ihre Urin ein bisschen Mischung so machen, noch ein bisschen mehr, für die Sediment ein bisschen Suppe machen. Okay, das ist gut. Jetzt können Sie beginnen mit die.
The athlete splits the sample, pouring the urine herself, unless assistance is required due to an athlete's disability. First, the athlete pours the required volume of urine into the B bottle. The remaining urine is poured into the A bottle.
Die rote da, A-Flasche. Aber bitte schön können Sie mir am Ende nur ein bisschen lassen für die.
The athlete is asked to leave a small amount of urine in the collection vessel so the doping control officer can measure the specific gravity and or pH according to the relevant laboratory guidelines.
Drehen, bis können Sie nicht mehr zurück oder weiter zum Schließen. Sehr gut.
The athlete then seals the bottles, and the doping control officer verifies that the bottles are sealed properly.
Sicher sein. Können Sie auch kontrollieren selber, wann wollen Sie. Okay, super. Formidable. So, jetzt, ich kann schon die Nummer eintragen.
The sample code number of the kit is recorded on the doping control form.
098. Ist korrekt?
Ja, ist gut.
Ist gut. So, jetzt können Sie beide in wieder Plastik und wieder bei Box. Und nachher machen wir noch die Kontrolle mit pH und Densität. Okay. Voilà. Können Sie die Pere
The doping control officer measures the specific gravity and/or pH using the urine left in the collection vessel.
diese. Voilà, sehr gut. Wir warten noch eine kleine Zeit, zum Sichersein. Und wir können
The
kontrollieren.
values are recorded on the doping control form.
Densité va-
The DCO ensures that any residual urine is discarded in full view of the athlete.
Ist in Ordnung?
Okay.
So, gut.
If the sample meets the requirements, the athlete is asked to provide information about any medication and supplements he or she has taken recently.
Namen, Vorname
These are recorded on the doping control form.
und so weiter.
The athlete has the right to note comments and concerns regarding the conduct of the session.
Alles in Ordnung.
The content of the form is confirmed with the athlete.
Gute Deutsch, das ist fantastisch. So,
The form is signed by the doping control officer,
und ich möchte
the person witnessing the passing of the sample, and the athlete's representative.
dabei. Am dritten, ich möchte gern Coach. Bitte schön, da unten. Das war Ihre Ausweisnummer. Und am Ende, bitte schön, Athleten.
The athlete should be the last person to sign the doping control form.
Und alles in Ordnung. Danke vielmals. Ihre Ausweis.
Copies of the form are distributed as required.
Labor.
The athlete is given a copy of the doping control form. The copy for the laboratory does not contain any information that could identify the athlete.
Aber keine Namen von Athlet. Das ist in Ordnung. Das können wir wieder Ihnen von Ihrer Box und schließen Sie wieder.
At the end of the session, the samples are securely stored for transportation to the laboratory.
Nächste Kontrolle.
With this, the sample collection session has ended and the athlete can leave the doping control station. The doping control officer prepares the samples for transport to the laboratory. If required, additional forms, such as the chain of custody form, are completed. The transport to the laboratory must ensure that the samples arrive in proper condition for the necessary analysis. All documents are sent to the anti-doping organization responsible for the test. There are cases when the sample does not meet the laboratory requirements for analysis. If the urine is too dilute, measured as specific gravity, or the acidity known as pH is out of range, the athlete will be asked to provide additional samples, if required by the anti-doping organization. When an insufficient volume of urine is provided, the amount is recorded on the doping control form.
30 millilitres. Et puis l'heure, 21h18. Correct?
Correct.
Merci. Alors malheureusement, on doit effectuer un CD provisoire. Ça veut dire qu'il faut choisir d'abord aussi votre emballage. Donc un de ces...
The athlete selects a sample collection kit and a partial sample kit. The athlete checks that the equipment is intact and has not been tampered with.
S'il vous plaît.
Once satisfied, the athlete opens the kit and confirms that the sample code numbers on the bottles, the lids, and the container all match. If they do, the athlete continues with the partial sampling procedure. The athlete pours the urine into the A bottle.
La totalité, s'il vous plaît. Voilà. Capuchon
The
bleu,
A
s'il vous
bottle is sealed with a special blue lid.
plaît. Donc vous vérifiez que ce soit bien fermé, s'il vous plaît. Voilà. Très bien. Maintenant, je mets ma...
On the partial sample bag, the name of the athlete and the date are marked.
Même occasion, je vais noter...
The athlete and doping control officer sign the bag and one of the control strips that have the same number as the bag.
38.
The number of the bag is recorded in the partial sample section on the doping control form. The sample collection kit, the bottle A, and the lid of the bottle A are packed in the partial sample bag. Then the athlete seals the partial sample bag. The control strip is given to the athlete.
Voilà, très bien. Maintenant,
While waiting to provide an additional sample, the athlete remains under continuous observation and is given the opportunity to hydrate. When the athlete is ready to provide another sample, the process of sample collection continues as described before. The athlete selects a new collection vessel and again provides a sample under direct observation.
Beaucoup de voyages à faire après pour rentrer à la maison. Alors, vous avez votre quittance, s'il vous plaît. Donc, c'est ce numéro-là, 038 357. Alors, si...
Back in the processing room, the athlete identifies the security bag using the control strip.
Bien vérifier, s'il vous plaît, donc, tous les numéros qui sont sur l'emballage, qui correspondent bien à votre bordereau.
Oui.
C'est correct?
The athlete opens the bag and takes out all the items.
Très bien. Voilà. Donc, ceci, ainsi que votre bordereau, on peut mettre à la poubelle, on n'en a plus besoin. Maintenant, je vous demanderai...
The athlete will select a new, sealed collection vessel and combine the samples, beginning with the first partial sample provided and each subsequent partial sample until the desired volume is reached.
Super. Parfait. Super.
The total amount of urine is recorded. If there is still an insufficient volume of urine, the collection process continues until the minimum required volume of urine is provided.
Maintenant, on va refaire le transfert dans les bouteilles. Donc, premièrement dans la bouteille bleue et ensuite...
Once this occurs, the urine sample is processed according to the procedure described earlier.
L'important, c'est de remuer légèrement votre...
The WADA accredited laboratory will adhere to the international standard for laboratories when processing a sample, ensuring the chain of custody